We're announcing today that we have decided to temporarily halt certain amounts of Medicaid funding that are going to the state of Minnesota in order to ensure that the state of Minnesota takes its obligations seriously to be good stewards of the American people's tax money. Now, what is this going to mean? What this means is that, first of all, the providers on the ground in Minnesota have actually already been paid. The state has paid those providers the money. What we're doing is we are stopping the federal payments that will go to the state government until the state government takes its obligations seriously to stop the fraud that's being perpetrated against the American taxpayer. There are a few different ways that we're doing that. There are a few different affirmative actions that we're taking today. Dr. Oz is going to talk about those, but let me talk a little bit about the spirit of this and why we're doing it. So number one of the examples of fraud that we've seen in Minnesota that we verified that is just awful is that a program that existed to ensure that autistic children had access to some after-school services has made a number of people rich, not by providing services to needy children, but by allowing fraudsters to take money that ought by right go to American citizens and to American families and to set up sham businesses, set up sham clients, set up people who are not even autistic but claim to be autistic in order that they benefit from the money that's out there. Now, what does that mean?
So what we see here, we see the war on fraud. We see J.D. Vance. We see Dr. Oz. This is the first thing they're doing as part of their new, group that they're creating to tackle this fraud in America and going after Minnesota. They are freezing $259.5 million in federal Medicaid funds to the state of Minnesota. What's interesting about this was a key point he said about this. He said Minnesota already paid the money to these providers. So Minnesota needs this money. So they need to do their job, hold people accountable, and show us that they are monitoring these people the right way. So right now, what do you think Minnesota's doing? They're panicking because the money already went out. They're already stuck. They're in a hole $260 million, basically. And I like the fact that they did it this way. So now what is Minnesota going to do? What comes first? Because now we're going to talk about this deficit. We're going to talk about the budget. Now you're $260 million in a hole. This has nothing to do about blaming the government. It's about blaming yourself because you're refusing to hold people accountable. Shout out to J.D. Vance. Shout out to Dr. Oz. This just shows that we have to be more diligent and be more on top of people that is using our money. I don't care what you do in your nonprofits and your whatever you're doing if you're using your money. But I care what you're doing. I should be able to open the books whenever I want. Doesn't matter what state you are and see what the heck you're doing because you're getting $260 million from the federal government. So as the federal government, they're saying, show us the books. We don't have any books. Well, we're not going to reimburse you then. It's genius. We have too many states, too many people that are taking money and not being held accountable. This is the reason why the Democrats don't like the Republicans right now. It's because they're opening up the hood of the car and they're looking at the engine. They're looking at everything that's going on and they're saying, you know what? You already paid it. You deal with that. You get your money back because we're not going to give you the money to replace your money. So this puts a lot of pressure on the states to finally do the job that you're supposed to do. If not, then you need to allocate your own money and you pay for that and don't worry about getting money from us. But this is genius. This is genius. And then what you see also too from this, people, and that's the thing I always say about autism. I know there's autism out there, but I feel like people are pushing like everybody's autistic because there's money behind it. So what you see in Minnesota, there wasn't enough people that were autistic. So they had people claim their kids and say that they're autistic so they can get money. And then those people was getting a kickback. When we see these people talk about autism, cancer, all these things, I know it's out there, but I don't believe that it's out there as a scale that we think that it is. So that's the great thing about this. I'll tell you, that's the great thing about this.
Mean. Number one, it means that a lot of people are getting rich off the generosity of American taxpayers, but more fundamentally and more importantly than that, it means that there are kids in Minnesota who deserve these services, who need these services, and they're not going to those kids, they're going to fraudsters in Minneapolis. That is unacceptable, and that's the sort of thing that we're cutting off with this action today. Let me make one final point about the spirit of this. One of the things I love about our country is that we're a generous country, we're a generous people. We take care of our fellow citizens who can't afford medical care because they're down on their luck. We take care of people who can't afford to put food on the table even though they work hard and play by the rules. We recognize that we're all in this together, and part of the reason why we have Medicaid, or part of the reason why we have food stamps, part of the reason why we have these programs is we want to make sure that kids who grow up in families not all that different from the family that I grew up in, that they have access to the basic necessities: food, medical care, after-school services when their family needs them but they're unable to pay. What's happening in Minneapolis, in California, in a number of states all across our country is that the generosity and the good hearts of our fellow Americans are being taken advantage of. We're taking that social contract that says that our American citizens, we take care of one another, and we're allowing a few bad actors to get rich off that generosity of spirit instead of providing the services to the kids who need it. This is disgraceful. It has happened for too long. Far too many people have gotten rich by taking what is the best of the American spirit and getting rich off of it instead of providing services to kids who need it.
Look, he's definitely, I like JD Vance because he's articulating basically, look, we want people to be taken care of. We want the kids to be taken care of. We want people to get food. We want people to get Medicare, but we want the right people to get it. We don't want the system. We don't want the system and have people abuse the system to make a lot of money. This is something to help people get along until they get back on their feet. But this is not to continue to fund somebody's bank account to make them richer and richer and richer. What we see is that we have people that are, these bad apples that are taking advantage of America's niceness. And they're purposely doing it. It's not like they did it on accident. They're finding ways to scam the system. If you're telling me you're telling me this money is from autism, and then you have an area that doesn't have enough autistic kids, but then they say, oh, we got an idea. Let's lie and get these other parents to say their kids have autism so we can give them money and we can keep the money going. That's being a bad apple on purpose. So this is why when we look at these things and we have to understand, like, this makes sense. This makes sense. So I'm curious to see what Minnesota is going to do because they've had numerous fraud investigations and prosecutions involving public programs. Most notable one is Feeding Our Future, 250 million fraudulent claims. It's just they're just willingness to do it because before the administration did not care. So I'm curious to see what else these guys are going to do. I definitely feel like they're going to do some stuff in California. I feel like California's next. I feel like New York. There's so much fraud in both of these states, but at the end of the day, they're Democrat states. It has to say something that is a lot of Democrat-ran states that are having these issues that are just blowing the money. But shout out to them, though. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell to get all the new videos that's coming out. Also, make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description below. Monday through Friday, 10:21 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have the No Filter Morning Show. I appreciate you guys, and I'm out.